So like, oh, Misty, hi, hello. Anyways, how are you guys doing? I was just finishing up my thumbnails, and I was just like, man, this thumbnail today kind of looks like an actual video essay. I know some people said that I probably should just make video essays about certain topics. Maybe in the future. I don't know yet. I don't know. We'll see how I wanna take my my YouTube channel. Anyways, I'm pulling up the the thing. I'm pulling up the Twitch chat. Okay. Anyways, so oh my God, I win. Hello. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everybody. I hope you had a good day today. If your day just started, I hope you have a good day. If your day just ended, I hope you had a good day. Anyways, so let's start. um, Hopefully, you guys will know what these anime that I'm gonna be talking about. I mean, it doesn't really matter if you haven't actually seen the anime that I'm gonna be talking about. I will be just like giving a rundown on the plot, but for the most part, it's going to be about the characters themselves and how each character tackles social anxiety, introversion, and just having poor social skills, because I think everybody can kind of relate to that. Even if you're good at socialization, there's going to be moments where you're kind of shy, or said something wrong in a group setting, or made someone feel uncomfortable, stuff like that. Or maybe you're just bad at asking for directions, or can't bring yourself to ask for the Wi-Fi password when you go to Starbucks. So yeah, okay, let's start with um, the main character for today, because this is the most recent anime that I watched. Bocchi the Rock. So Bocchi. So the thing that I thought was so funny about this character was, like, the entire time I was watching it, I basically got called out because while I'm like a yapper right now, she basically reminded me a lot of when I was younger, especially when I was in school, because um, I don't know, just I mean, if you guys haven't seen it, it's basically like this girl with very poor social skills. She kind of doesn't know how to make friends, doesn't know how to make the first move, and so she's like, "Oh, let me join a band. Maybe that'll help me, and help me make friends, make me a little bit more popular." And then, in isolating herself, in developing those guitar skills, she kind of ended up forgetting to actually socialize. And that's kind of like me with my drawing. It's like I'm like, oh, like I like drawing. I wanna meet people who also like drawing. And then when it got to my school days, I was just a loner sitting in my seat, just drawing by myself. The only time I would socialize because of my drawing was when people would come over and just be like, "Hey, what you drawing? Oh, that looks nice. Can you draw me? Like, why aren't you drawing hands?" Yeah, and so yeah, exactly, Crunchy. It's like I was watching the whole thing, and I was like, "Oh, she just like me for real." The thing that I noticed about Bocchi was that she was always expecting other people to make the first move in approaching her. She was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have like a really cool T-shirt, or I'm gonna have like this nice looking bag. Maybe someone will approach me and point it out. Maybe they'll approach me and be like, 'Hey, I like that anime too.'" And I was just like, "Oh God, she just like me for real." Yeah, I know. It's like why was the thing you mentioned, Jack Frost, you gave to someone accidental? Oh, what do you mean? Um. Oh yeah. Okay. So the thing with that, right? It was like that was not on purpose. The thing is, he asked me for paper, and I gave him a piece of paper because we needed it for an exam. And he gave it back to me. He was like, it was so embarrassing too because I was like, I was pulling out my pencil case and everything. He tapped me on the shoulder and was like, "Hey, can I have another one?" And I was like, "Why? What's wrong with that one?" And then he awkwardly flipped it over to my Jack Frost drawing. So yeah, so that was weird. But it was really funny because when I was like in the third grade, I remember I used to draw fan art of the Winx Club, and then all the girls in my class, because like I didn't have many friends in class. I mean, obviously I'm a VTuber, of course I wasn't popular. I didn't have many friends in class, and so like, but like all the girls suddenly started approaching me and being like, "Hey, I love Winx Club. Can you draw one of the characters for me? It's my favorite character." And I was like, "Sure." And then and it was funny too because I didn't know how to use reference images. I didn't know how to look them up on the family computer. So what I did was I had like this glue stick, right, that had the Winx characters on them. So I was just like squinting my eyes trying to make out every single detail, trying to like follow them like free-handedly. Oh, that was something that I thought was very funny about myself too. I didn't know that you could look up fan art. So whenever I saw an anime that I liked, I would just draw the characters myself because I was like, I need art of this character, but I don't know where to get it. So I will provide the fan art. Yeah, no, it's like early Enaria, and the internet access was very goofy though because all I did was I didn't go on like websites that weren't like necessarily bad for me, but it's like nothing, there's nothing like those porn pop-up ads while you're trying to look up Zutara fan fictions, but anyways, so at least with that, I thought I could have people approaching me. So I mean, people did, but like, I mean, after that first initial interaction, what do you do afterwards, right? And that's the thing that was interesting about Bochi the Rock was she kind of needed those extroverts adopting her. I was talking about this anime with somebody, and there's four girls in the band, right? And they're all kind of different types of people. So you have two introverts and two extroverts, except they're not the same type of introvert, they're not the same type of extrovert. So yeah, so with the first extrovert that starts talking to Bochi, she's like an extrovert who's very sure of herself. She's very confident in herself, right? Whereas there's this other extrovert who's like the singer of the band. She's actually very extroverted in the sense that she has a lot of friends. She's very popular and outgoing, but she's not very secure in herself. She's very insecure. She has a lot of self doubt, and she's not very self confident. And there's like this other introvert in the group, but she is very self-confident. She is very sure of herself, where it's like even Bocce made a note of this, where she thought like this other introvert was just like her. No, like pretty much the exact opposite, because like Bocce is an introvert that wants friends but doesn't know how to socialize. And but like the other girl, she's actually an introvert in the sense that she prefers to be alone rather than doesn't have a choice but to be alone. And I think that's a lot of people, where it's like you want friends but you don't know how to make friends, or you don't know how to attract people to you, so you're kind of just there just struggling, and you don't know how to improve your situation because you don't have any friends. For humors, yeah, I think so. Maybe. When I was a kid, the only websites on the internet for me were Club Penguin, Flash game sites, and YouTube. I mean, basically same. I think I told you guys about how when I was on Club Penguin as a child, well, not like a child like 8 years old, but maybe like 12 to 15. When I was on Club Penguin, that's where I was first starting to socialize, but like in a weird way, because Because if you've ever been on Club Penguin, you'll know that there's this pizza parlor, and each table at the pizza parlor has two seats, right? So what people did back in the day was like one person would take a seat at one of the tables, and another person will come up and just kind of role play. They'll be like, "Hey, is this seat taken? Can I sit here?" And then the other person will be like, "Yeah, sure, okay." And then they'll sit down, and then they start making conversation. They'll be like, "Boy or girl, age, where are you from?" It was Club Penguin was like baby's first omegle, like, or chat roulette. Asking ASL on Club Penguin was crazy though. But yeah, it's like it was where I first started socializing with strangers, because I mean there's the people at school, but I always struggled making small talk with them. So making small talk with a random internet stranger on Club Penguin was how I first started socializing, or at least practicing how to socialize. And it was always just kind of like, we'll keep talking, and then if we feel like we vibe well enough, they'll invite me to their igloo, or I'll invite them to my igloo. And well, that's basically like the only way you could have like a private conversation on Club Penguin at the time, before they had like the private messaging feature, I think. And so, I mean, obviously, some people became, kind of lewd once you were behind closed doors. But for the most part, it was just like a private conversation where you could talk about more personal things, without, your privacy getting breached or anything. But like, that's the thing though. It's like, making small talk this is tricky part, because how do you start with the awkward, like very basic conversations, to get to the point where you could have deeper conversations with somebody? Because I think most people, whether you're extroverted or introverted, I think most people prefer having a deep conversation, because it's like, what good is it talking to someone if you're only sticking to, like, the weather, right? It's like, do you really want to talk about how hot it is right now, or do you want to talk about our place in the universe? Do you want to talk about like your hobbies, that sort of thing? Because I feel like when it comes to small talk, it feels like a dating app, where you match up with somebody and you start making conversation, like, "Hey, how are you? What do you do for a living? Um, what do you like to do for fun?" It's like, but it's like you have to get through that weird, awkward phase just to get to the good stuff, unfortunately. So that's why I kind of dislike it when someone doesn't really want to do stuff like that, where it's like the only, like, the people that only have like one word responses, like "cool," "same," "oh wow," "yeah," "okay." I'm just like, can you please have like something to say? Like, how boring are you of a person? Had a group of in-person and online friends. That's the thing. I didn't have many online friends. Everybody that I knew was kind of just like in person, and then I would add them online, like on Facebook or something. But I didn't really have any online friends until after I left high school. Um, but yeah, no, it's like, not having good people skills is kind of, it's not something that's impossible to learn, but you kind of need to learn it at a certain point, right? Like, if you still struggle with making small talk with strangers by the time you're in your 30s, you're gonna have a tough time doing literally anything. Like, how are you gonna make a doctor's appointment? How are you gonna ask for the Wi-Fi password at a hotel or a restaurant? How are you going to ask for directions when you're lost, right? It's like, you kind of need to know how to talk to strangers. So while it's forgivable in high school, you really need to figure it out, even to a certain extent. You need to be able to kind of at least manage, at least get by. Yeah, hi, hello. So yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like with Bocchi, she was lucky that extroverts adopted her, but it was also up to her to make an effort. It's like the fact that she pushed herself constantly. just to take on a job, just to join the band, just to talk to strangers, to promote the band. That's the thing that you kind of need to know. You need to keep pushing yourself in these situations, because a lot of people feel uncomfortable making the first move, right? Whether you're hitting on someone or just striking up a conversation with someone at a party. How many of you guys have ever been to a party where you didn't know anybody, or it doesn't have to be a party, it could just be like a social gathering, like an event or something, and even like a convention, a cosplay convention, where you don't know anybody except one person. You went there with your friend, and you just follow that friend around the entire time. I feel like that's a very common situation, and that's where it's like, I mean, unless it's like an office party, you don't really need to force yourself to socialize, but it's a good opportunity. You're not required to socialize with strangers at these places, but it's a good chance to try. It's like, even just walking up to a cosplayer at a cosplay convention, asking them for a picture, that's good enough. Like, a lot of people have to muster up the courage just to ask. Same with me and like the freaking Wi-Fi password at a coffee shop. um mhm. Like, theater carried me socially back in high school. They were super extroverted. Oh yeah, no, kids and art kids are very different, but they're both like creatives. So it's kind of like, I'm a type of person that's leaning more towards art kid than theater kid, but I do have like theater kid tendencies. So it's kind of like, yeah, it's like there's I think joining clubs is very important, just for that alone, just like for this the forced socialization, you know because yeah, no, it's like, I win. You gotta try. You gotta at least like go to an event where you can, like, maybe if you went as a group, and then those people had friends at the same event and then introduced you. That would be good. That'd be a good opportunity. So the thing with Bocchi, right? She joined a band. She joined a band, and by doing so, she kind of was forced to socialize, and it's good if it's a club or a band like that, because you guys already know what your shared interest is. You don't have to make the conversation. It's like, oh, what do you like to do for fun? And then if you find out that you have nothing in common, it's like, where do you go from there, right? But at least with a club, you do already know that these people like the same stuff as you, and so that's common ground. It's like, I mentioned this yesterday, where whenever I try to socialize or try to strike up conversation with somebody at school, a lot of the time it was just to ask about homework or exams. It's like, hey, did you guys do the homework? Did you bring your school materials for this project? Did you study for the exam later? And so, like, that was the only thing that I could think of. But I really should have at least, like, mentioned music or anime or something. Also, hi, hello. Um, Character you mentioned earlier, where I can be extroverted, but I'd rather be alone. So that's just you being I guess self-sufficient, where it's like, it's a lot of people think that shy, socially anxious, and introverted are all the same thing. It's not. Introversion just basically means that you kind of prefer being alone, in the sense that um it's like, okay, so think of it as like you having a, okay, so social battery. You guys know that phrase, right? Social battery. You're If you're an introvert, a lot of the time your social battery drains a lot quicker, the more people you talk to. Whereas an extrovert feels more charged up with when they're around a big crowd, right? So you have, like, let's say jocks. A lot of jocks are extroverts, so they feel a lot better hanging out with their buddies after school or like at parties or something. Whereas an introvert, they feel more recharged and refreshed if they stick to like some loner hobbies, like if they read, if they watch anime by themselves, if they hang out with one or two friends. So it's not the same thing as just not having friends or just being socially anxious. Because socially anxious, social anxiety, that basically means that you struggle with mustering up the courage to talk to someone. Because even a social butterfly, it's like they're prone to social anxiety. Like I'm constantly socially anxious, but it's like I have to force myself to talk to people. I mean, it's literally my job now. But it's something that unfortunately, unless you live as a hermit in the middle of the woods somewhere, you're going to have to socialize. You're going to have to make conversation with people you don't know. That's just how it work, how the world works, and that's why like social skills are very important to learn. Doesn't matter how old you are when you learn them, but you really need to learn them by the time you're an adult. Um, and that's why I mentioned the club thing, because you know how in anime, I don't know how true this is in Japan, but in anime, you know how they have that thing where it's like um the concept of a going home club. Basically it's just a student that doesn't have a club, so they just go home right away. So but like at my school it was mandatory, like they wanted to make sure all the students were where they were supposed to be, so no students went missing after classes. And so if you guys are still in school, I really implore you to join a club. Or if you don't want to do a club, then I don't know, find a common interest with your friend group. It's like maybe play video games together, watch a movie together, something. I'm like that too, where it's like every time I have to go out drinking with my friends, or meeting up with friends or something, it's like a once every now and then kind of a situation. It's like I'll go drinking with someone maybe once a month rather than like every week. That's the thing too. I was surprised when I found out that there's people that go drinking like every Saturday or something. I'm like, okay, first of all, that's expensive. Second of all, that sounds really exhausting. Like you're going clubbing every weekend. Like, isn't that tiring for you? But that's the thing. Those are like, the extroverts that like to party so much. By hourly internet drop. Oh no, Misty. No. Hi, Bandy. Hello. But yeah, so that's like the main thing that I gathered from Bochi the Rock, is that if you have common interests, you kind of need to force yourself to socialize. The thing with Bochi was that she was expecting everybody else to make the first move, but what she really needed to do was push herself a little bit. So speaking of which, okay, next anime. um Onimai, or I'm Now Your Sister. So Mahiro was originally a boy in his 20s. I think he was just like 20 years old. And so he was like technically the older brother in the story. And then the younger sister turned him into a 13 or 14-year-old girl. And so this is what's interesting about it, is that not only is he younger, but he's now like a different gender. And like the thing I mentioned in my stream yesterday was that um your gender, I mean, like obviously you can like do whatever with that, but it's like your upbringing, the way you're socializing, it depends on your gender, I suppose. Kind of like let's say if you're straight, a lot of the time you're going to have a lot of straight friends, whereas if you were gay, you're drawn to a lot more gay people. So you're going to have like a queer circle, right? So it's the same thing with like guys. It's like guys, I don't know, this is a thing with school students, guys would typically hang out with guys, girls would typically hang out with girls. There's obviously like times where you can have co-ed friend groups, but just the way you're brought up to socialize is very different. Like guys are encouraged to be loud and outgoing and extroverted and play with others, right? And girls are typically kind of raised to be like, a bit quieter. We're typically raised to just kind of talk about very basic things. Like I talked about this yesterday, and I struggled socializing with the girls my age because I didn't really have anything in common with them, or at least not that I could see right away, because they would only ever talk about like the same types of anime that I did not watch. They would talk about boys, but I at the time I didn't really have any interest in boys. And then they would also talk about K-pop, and I was just kind of like a I was like a K-pop casual, I would like certain songs, but I wouldn't like certain groups that much. I wasn't like a hardcore K-pop fan. And so I struggled socializing with the girls my age, whereas like the guys my age, they were talking about a bunch of different stuff, from like different types of anime to video games to TV shows, movies, making jokes that have nothing to do with hobbies and stuff like that. It's like I like that because it's more approachable in a way, right? So tomboy coded. You had people talking about anime over there. Yeah, yeah. I was like, hey, let's talk about Crunchyroll, huh? um, yeah, I know. It's like I was I it was weird because I was the type of person to get along with different kinds of people without actually like feeling like I really belonged. It's like I guess like that's what a wallflower is, right? Um, so I could kind of blend in with different groups, but it wasn't that I really felt like this was like my friend group. This is my group of people. These are my people. I never really truly felt that. I just kind of felt like, oh, this is my study group. This is my anime group. This is my female group. This is my upperclassmen group. This is my underclassmen group. This is my guy friend group. You know, and that's kind of how I was like taking those types of situations with so like with Onimai, right? So Mahiro basically has to start from scratch in terms of social skills, because he was like a 20-year-old loner up until this point, and all he really cared about was like anime waifus and stuff, right? And so now it's like, okay, now you're a 20-year-old who doesn't know how to talk to people. What are you gonna do, right? So he basically had a do-over. And the thing is with girls, it depends on the situation, but girls can be really friendly and welcoming if it's not already like an established friend group. But even then, sometimes the established friend group, they're like, hey, this person's cool, let's let him hang out with us, let's eat lunch together. And then they'll invite you to places, they'll have you hang out with their friends, and then you guys just become part of the group. um yeah, turn into a cute girl, problem solved. Exactly. So the thing with Mahiro was that he only had his sister to socialize with, and then that sister brought in her upperclassman friend, who's like I think she was like a 15 or 16-year-old girl. And so she was like not only was she just like an older person compared to like Mahiro now, because Mahiro is like 14, I guess. Um, Not only, I think she was like the best first person to help integrate this character into society, because this person, so Mahiro, the main character, Mahiro doesn't have any social skills. So how is he supposed to make friends? Easy, like have an extroverted older sister type of character, because she was a gyaru, but she was also like a responsible older sibling, so she was kind of both like the extrovert that adopts you and encourages you to come out, but she's also mindful of Mahiro's comfort levels and takes care of her and everything. And so I think that's a good like first friend to make. And then afterwards, like Mahiro starts making friends with I think it was another one of that Garu's friends. So it was like another older character. um and then so it was just like, okay, you have this character helping you, come out of your shell and introduce you to other people. And through that, Mahiro was able to develop social skills in order to make friends in their class. And that's the thing too, it's like you really need to learn how to socialize with people your own age because you can't always guarantee that you'll meet someone older or meet someone younger. So it's like you need to figure out how to talk to your peers. And like the easiest way to go about it is I mean, you're literally born the same year, so it's like clearly you probably grew up with the same stuff. You know, you probably watch the same anime, you probably watch the same cartoons, or listen to the same music. And so it's or like even played video games. At the same time. Like I mean, earlier, Misty, you mentioned Club Penguin, and so it's oh no, that was Crunchy. Sorry, that was Crunchy. You mentioned Club Penguin, and I'm just like, oh, I also played Club Penguin. Obviously, like younger kids, the Zoomers, the Gen Alphas, they're not gonna know much about Club Penguin. And like the older people, people that were born in the 80s, for example, they won't know much about Club Penguin either. So it's like finding common ground just from being the same age is relatively easy because if you grew up with it, odds are they probably also grew up with it. Whether it's like childhood snacks or cartoons, video games, music. Like odds are you guys have something in common, and that's why it's a bit tricky dating someone that's like 10 years um, older or younger than you because like what do you have in common really? Like what do you know? Like because I had some friends that were teenagers, and I was already struggling keeping up with their memes, keeping up with their like the video games that they played with, or the cartoon shows that they played, or the cartoon shows that they watched. When I go on YouTube, for example, I'll come across like videos about like the Descendants or Good Luck Charlie or Shake It Up or something. Um, Sam and Cat, like these are TV shows that I did not grow up watching, so I'm not gonna be able to relate to them. But if you told me like Adventure Time, you told me like Phineas and Ferb, I'm gonna have something to say. I grew up with Newgrounds. Newgrounds. I only found out about Newgrounds when I was like an adult already. So like that was fun. I was introduced to it by that guy who wanted to name our first son Goku. Funny fella. Yeah, Newgrounds. He was weird because I thought it was just gonna be like animations and stuff. No, he was introducing me to like the weird hentai games that he played. I'm not really familiar with 90s sitcoms. Oh yeah, no, there's like a lot of stuff that I would consider before my time, and a lot of stuff that I consider after my time. And that's the thing too, right? It's like finding common ground is as I mentioned earlier, it's a really easy way to make friends because even if you don't have a lot in common, at least you could play Valorant with them, or at least you could talk about the same types of anime with them. It's like I don't know. It's that's why we have these. Have you guys ever heard of like Amino? So like these amino communities, right, where it's basically like all specialized communities or forums or whatever. You have like the My Little Pony community, or like you have the anime community. You have like I'm assuming there's also like a Bochi the Rock community, Oshinoko, or like Minecraft. Like these are all common interests, and you just make friends. You talk to them about other things other than your common interest, and then you find out you have other stuff in common. Yeah, Amino is still a thing, but like a lot of people have been using it as like a dating app. Unfortunately, like people join it and they think it's a dating app and they start hitting on people. So that find a manga where it's an older woman who sort of withdrew socially after a bad experience at work and is now having to find her footing job searching. There's something like that. But it's not that she's job hunting. But there is a situation in what was the title? Recovery of an MMO junkie. So I remember when I watched this when I was younger. So this character is like a 30-year-old office worker that decided to quit her job, and she felt like she earned enough money, she saved up enough of her income to kind of live comfortably for a while until she starts finding work again. But she was basically like she had like a premature retirement, and so she kind of went back into playing MMOs. And I remember when I watched it the first time, I was younger, and I felt like I couldn't really relate to the character. I thought the story was cute, but I really couldn't relate to them. But as I got older, I was like, oh, I get it. I get it now. Like the desire to kind of have some sort of escapism because you kind of struggled with life, and you kind of felt like you kind of let yourself go, or like you let your best years, supposedly you kind of let life go by dedicating yourself to work, only to realize you haven't really lived, you haven't really enjoyed life in like a while. And so that's why like that kind of thing is, I think a lot of anime is relatable, but there's also some anime that just hit different when you hit a certain point in your life. It doesn't have to be like an age that you hit, but you have to be like a similar mindset to really relate to these characters. Like I feel like if I never went through like this whole socially anxious um time in my life, like back in school, I don't think I would have related to these characters at all. I would have enjoyed it. I would have felt bad for them, but I probably wouldn't have, it probably wouldn't have hit the same way. Have you seen Watamote? Oh, actually, it's good that you bring that up. I was just about to move on to Watamote, actually. Okay, so okay. So, Tomoko from Watamote. So Watamote is like the full title is no matter how I look at it, it's your guys' fault that I'm not popular. And I have some thoughts about this person. Um, so when I watched, so like the thing with Watamote is so you know how like the first two characters I mentioned, Mahiro from Onimai, and also Bochi from Bochi the Rock. The thing with those characters, right, was that they were just like, they had their hobbies and everything, but they didn't know how to make the first move, so they kind of required someone else approaching them first and like basically adopting them. Like the classic story of an extrovert adopting the introvert, and then giving them a social life just from that interaction or just from that connection. Because it's like a lot of the time when an extrovert adopts an introvert, that extrovert already has friends. So a lot of the time it's kind of a situation where it's like, hey, you're pretty cool, I'm gonna introduce you to my other friend, and then they become friends, and then they have more people coming, and then they have like a whole friend group, and now you're part of the friend group. With Tomoko from Watamote, I felt like I'm gonna be honest, she's very cringe. I mean, it's all cringe when you're watching this type of thing, but it's like it is funny. But I felt like Tomoko was a little too cringy for my taste, just because it's like I was just so frustrated with this character. Cause with Bocchi, she had a lot of self doubt, she had a lot of insecurity and everything. Cause she was very confident in her guitar skills, but very insecure in her socialization, right? With Tomoko in Watamote, the thing with her was that I feel like she wasn't taking responsibility for her own shortcomings, and she was kind of just like so she's basically like the I would consider her the more negative version of Bocchi from Bocchi the Rock, because so both Bocchi and Tomoko, they kind of expect people to approach them first, right? But with Tomoko, she was kind of I feel like she developed some bitterness over the years. She was kind of just like, oh wow, I can't wait to make my high school debut and make a lot of friends, get a boyfriend, and be really popular. And when that didn't work out, she was kind of just like, these people all suck, you're all cringe, you're all losers. I'm better off without you guys. I don't need you guys, you guys are all lame. She was kind of a not like other girls type of a character. And so it was kind of just like, again, as I mentioned earlier, the same thing with Bocchi is that when you want people to approach you, you can't just expect that to happen, kind of the same way where people are always constantly going on about, oh, I wish I had a boyfriend, I wish I had a girlfriend, I want a girlfriend so bad, and then they don't talk to anyone. It's like, how are you gonna get a relationship going if you can't even strike up a conversation? You're not making friends, you're not reaching out to people, you're not talking to strangers. How are you gonna end up with a relationship if all you're doing is waiting around, basically, right? Because like Bochi was lucky, but with Tomoko, she wasn't really doing much, in the sense that, like, she needs to force herself to actually come out of her comfort zone. She was afraid to socialize, she was afraid to talk to people. But with how, I think she had way too many expectations for how her high school life was going to go, and because of that she ended up resenting others for her lack of friends. It's like, it's not other people's fault that you don't know how to talk to people. So have you watched Real Life? I have. So I kind of yeah, with Real Life, that's the one where, like, this adult man goes back to his, like, teenage self, right? Is that it, right? That's it. Yeah, exactly. What Tomoko was basically a femcel because okay, so let's talk about incels for a sec, right? So the original incel was actually a woman, which is very funny to me. So the original incel was a woman who just, she was just a little insecure. She was just kind of lost, and she just didn't know what was wrong, and like why she couldn't find a boyfriend, why she couldn't find love. I feel like many people struggle with that, especially when you're younger. Like, you have any idea how many times like a young teenager would complain about, like, oh, I'm never gonna find anyone, I'm never gonna get a girlfriend, I'm never gonna get a boyfriend, and I'm just like, aren't you like 14? Chill out. When you're like 65, maybe then you can have an identity, some sort of crisis. But if you're 14 and already freaking out about dying alone, I'm like, okay, okay, relax, relax a little. Oh, that's okay, sensei. But yeah, no, it's like with Tomoko, she was just kind of, yeah, she really was like a femcel in the sense that, oh, it's like, it's not that I'm not charming or lack social skills, you guys just all suck, and I don't need you guys, like, I'm better off without you, actually. So it's the same thing where it's like, those people constantly begging for friends, constantly begging for partners, but don't know the basics of socialization. It's like, how are you gonna put that on other people? You can't expect other people to make the first move every single time. You're lucky if that happens, but it shouldn't be expected. So it's like, Tomoko's failure at her high school debut shouldn't fall on the shoulders of everyone else. Like, she should try to talk to someone, she should try to make friends, she should try to reach out to others. So I kind of touched on this yesterday when I was talking about how growing up I had a lot of friends, but I really felt like I didn't belong in those groups because I wasn't actually making any substantial personal connections with them. It's like, we had stuff in common, like we watched the same anime or we watched the same cartoons, but did I really know them as people? Not really. Um and like that's a thing. Like, I can complain all I want, but at the end of the day, it falls on me. Like, I could have reached out more, I could have asked people to go hang out on the weekends more often, I could have invited people to watch a movie, or I could have asked someone out, I could have done all sorts of things. I could have, I mean, for example, like, I already mentioned this before, but I can't bring myself to DM someone first, right? So I wish that I was more comfortable with the idea of asking someone to collab, but so far every collab that I've done was always because like somebody invited me to a collab. Like every time someone would be like, "Hey, Enaria, you want to collab for a stream next Friday?" I'm like, Sure, yeah." So I want to be invited, but it's also up to me to invite others. It's like I can't keep waiting for other people to reach out to me. You know, yeah, exactly. Like the outer circle thing. It's like you're basically indirectly like you're kind of self-isolating. You're like, oh, I want to make friends, but I don't know how, so I'm gonna wait for someone to approach me first. I think the thing that a lot of people don't really realize is that if you're shy, other people are probably also shy. They're probably also as shy as you are. So if you're not gonna reach out to each other, you're just not gonna talk like ever. It's like, do you guys have any people in your life that you would consider a low maintenance friend, where it's like they only talk to you if they have something to say? Like, for example, like they're like, "Hey, I saw this meme and it reminded me of you." Or it's like, "Hey, do you want to come to my birthday party this weekend?" Or did you do the homework? Where it's like they only strike up conversation if they have a reason to. I'm basically the same type of person. Um, I know the people in my life are very welcoming and very friendly. They would love it if I reached out first, but it's just a thing that I have to get over. I just need to get a grip and realize, like, hey, there's no harm in just saying hi to someone just to catch up. You don't have to have a reason every single time. Yeah, exactly. So it's like that. So even as an adult, I still have social skill issues. And at least I'm aware of it. Because, like, knowing the problem is the first step to fixing the problem, right? And so that's the thing with Bochi and Tomoko, was that they were constantly waiting to be adopted by extroverts and be approached by other people, but they never made the effort to reach out first until much later on. What if they secretly hate me? See, that's the thing, right? It's like you won't know until you actually try to talk to them. If they do kind of seem bitter or hostile towards you, then you can back off. But what if they think that you hate them because you never talk to them? Like, how many times do you have a conversation with somebody and you're like, "Oh, I are you mad at me?" And they'll be like, "No, why?" Like, "No, I'm not mad at you." There's people in your life that you're probably, they're probably insecure about approaching you first. It's like I have a bunch of really wonderful coworkers and co-highs, but I'm always thinking like, "Oh, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to like DM them for no reason. What if they're busy?" They probably feel the same way about me. And it's like if they talk to me like that, they're like, "Oh, I don't want to bother you," and I'll be like, "No, no, it's not a bother. I want to talk to you." Yeah. Yeah, it's like I'm not going to. So it's like if you're shy, they're probably also shy. So one of you is gonna have to bite the bullet and actually like push yourself out of your comfort zone. Um, yeah, exactly. So because basically, if both you and your friend don't make the first move, you're probably never going to talk until like 6 months later. Exactly, Albandi. A lot of the time it is just kind of overthinking and paranoia, and a lot of like just self-esteem issues, because it's like, oh, like I don't know if I'm like a good enough friend. So what if they hate me? What if they don't like talking to me? What if I'm annoying? A lot of people think that way. But you won't know for sure until you actually talk to them. And like as El Bandi said, if someone's hating on you, if they actually hate you, and you talk to them and you can tell that they hate you, at least you won't be wondering they if they actually hate you. Now you know for sure, and you won't be wasting your time trying to maintain a friendship with somebody that secretly hates you. Show genuine interest in the other person if you actually want to be friends. That is something that I had to learn literally just in the pandemic when I was talking to strangers online, because I had my online friends, I had my IRL friends, but I didn't have any online friends. So when I was when I was making friends online, the thing that I kind of needed to realize was the I had to swallow this pill, but like my IRL friend group, even though we hang out all the time and we've known each other for like three, like like multiple years now. At the time it was just 3 years, but like even though we've known each other for years and we hung out basically every week, I didn't really talk to them much. I was the mom friend. I was the responsible one. I would scold them every now and then if they were, if they didn't sleep or eat or drink too much, right? So people would come to me if they had problems, but I kind of realized that my friend group and I were what we would consider fair weather friends. So these are your friends that are only around during the good times. Like if you have a birthday party, or if you have if you want to go hang out at a bar somewhere, or at a park, or just watch a movie together. It's like you all hang out as a group. You only ever hang out like to play video games or watch movies or what. But if you're like going through something, they're not gonna reach out to you. They're not gonna like ask if you're okay. They're not going to stay up until 4 a.m. Listening to you vent about your problems. And so when I realized that I didn't really have a deep personal connection with my friends, and it was all kind of shallow. When I realized that, I thought to myself, I'm gonna actually try to make friends like the right way. I'm actually gonna try to, ask people about themselves and like actually care about them, because as Gravity put it, it's like you have to actually show genuine interest in the other person for the friendship to matter. Because otherwise, that's just a shallow, superficial friendship. Like it's like you might as well not be friends. Like they're just an acquaintance at that point, right? But if you actually want a deep personal connection, a friendship that lasts years and years, um, you have to actually care about the other person in the way that you want to be cared for. It's like if you want people to ask about your hobbies, ask someone about their hobbies. You can't just be like, oh, I want to talk about my favorite anime, and I can't find any friends that want to talk about it. But it's like you want someone to show interest in your favorite hobbies and interests and stuff, but it's like you won't do the same thing for them. Like how is that fair? That's a one-sided friendship. You want them to care more about you than you want to care about them. And that's, yeah, that's kind of how things should go. Really, it should be a two-way street. If you want to ask. Oh, I mentioned this yesterday about therapist friends, where a lot of the time friends will rely on each other for for comfort. But if person A only approaches person B when they want to vent about like their relationship problems, or their depression, or how shitty school is, or their terrible relationship with their parents, if they only come to you for that one thing, but you are never allowed to vent to them, then how is that fair? That's a one-sided friendship. And it's the same thing with actually asking someone about their hobbies. If you want someone to ask about your hobbies, ask about someone else's hobbies. Yeah, it's like yeah, you wanna have like, yeah, like yeah, you wanna have variety, but it's like that's why you kind of I think anybody can be friends with someone even if they have nothing in common, because even if you don't have the same interests, I feel like just being social creatures, we kind of reach common ground regardless. Whether it's like just talking about life in general, or how difficult work is sometimes, even if you don't do the same type of work. um the type I remember having a conversation with somebody about music. We didn't listen to the same type of music, but I let them talk about why they like the music that they like. I let them talk about the types of bands and artists that they like, and I was able to talk about my favorite artists as well, even if they weren't the same artist. at least we were allowing each other to open up and talk about things on a deeper level. Because like you could just be like, oh, who's your favorite band, what's your favorite band, and they'll say the band's name, and then you just stop talking after that. No, that's not good. It's like that's not good enough. You want to dig deeper. You want to actually make conversation out of that, piece of information. It's like, okay, let's say they said that their favorite artist is I don't know who's an artist. I suddenly forgot all the artists in the world. Okay, let's say okay, I mentioned this earlier. Taylor Swift. Wait, no, did I mention Taylor Swift earlier? No, that was yesterday. I mentioned it. No, okay, so so let's say Taylor Swift. Even if you don't listen to Taylor Swift, you could ask someone like, "Hey, I know a few Taylor Swift songs because I heard them on the radio. What's your favorite Taylor Swift song? Why do you like that song? Have you been to one of her concerts? Which album of hers did you like the most? Why do you like it? Just have follow-up questions. That's a pretty good way to keep a conversation going. Like I could keep a conversation going for as long as we're both, still interested in keeping the conversation going. So you wanna actually show genuine interest, even if you don't know anything about Taylor Swift. At least care about the other person's answer and not just like ask just for the sake of asking. I think that's fair. Not everyone has to be your best friend. Exactly, exactly. So so now that we've discussed, the loner types and the people that are relatively unpopular, and so like and so you have to like force yourself out of your comfort zone just to talk to someone. Let's talk about someone who can't talk at all but is still relatively popular. This is Komi-san from Komi Can't Communicate. Okay, so the thing with funnily enough, I think my library job and watching VTubers prepares me to talk about it. Oh yeah, no, for sure. It's like there's a lot of times where somebody will bring up like a VTuber that I don't know, but I still let them talk freely about that person. Like you don't need to know the full context. It would be better if you already know who that, that what that thing is, but you don't need to know. Just letting them talk about it and explain it themselves, that's already good enough. Excuse me. So the thing with Komi-san is that she's what we would consider takane no hana, which basically means like an unreachable flower. So it's like I guess like the metaphor is that there's like a flower on the top of a that's growing on the top of a mountainside or something, and it's very difficult to get to that flower, but because it's unreachable, it's like it's even more desirable. It's something that a lot of people, you know um look towards, but it's unreachable. So it's like so when someone is a takane no hana, it means oh, this person is someone that's beloved by everybody, but you can't really get close to them, whether it's because everyone, you know those characters that are like that are really popular, and so everyone's just like, you can't date him, he belongs to everybody, like idol culture is basically what the Takano Hana is talking about. um so it's kind of like oh, this person, like, hey, we're all commoners, we're all peasants compared to this person, don't get ahead of yourself, don't assume that you have a chance with this person, just because you spoke once. Like they belong to everyone, so they can never just belong to one. Oh my god, hang on, holy shit. Oh my god. Why was my throat so dry? um, yeah, no, so like with Komi-san, right? It's like she's not really, so as I mentioned, with idol culture, a lot of these idols are not seen as humans. They're kind of just seen as like a pretty object. It's an object of desire and affection, right? So the people that admire them don't actually know them personally. They're kind, because like when you have a crush on a friend or something, that's you knowing that person and then catching feelings for them because you know them. But if you just see like that hot girl at school, or that attractive celebrity, or that model, do you really know anything about them? No, like you see them from a distance, you admire them, but that's basically it. You don't like them as a person, you just like them visually or whatever, right? So it's like there are these characters that are very attractive, very elegant. They're kind of unapproachable. I think Hispanic people say the word fresita. It's kind of, I asked somebody what that meant. They basically said like it's a girl that's kind of difficult to date, whether it's because she has high standards, or she's from a rich elitist background or something like that. You can't really get with this person easily. So that's kind of what Takane no Hana is about. And Komi is basically friendless because of this. Everyone refuses to approach her because they only view her from afar, which is kind of sad, because it's like even when you're beloved by everyone, even when you're popular, it doesn't guarantee that you have actual friends, you know. And so with Komi, she was only able to get friends when this one guy, Tadano, he approaches her first, and basically they start talking. And yeah, no, exactly, they're always normal people, but because of other people's perceptions of them, they're kind of they're put up on a pedestal that they didn't ask to be put on. And so it's kind of unfortunate, but yeah, that's kind of how that works. And as I mentioned, it's like with idol culture, they don't see them as human beings. They don't see them as people. They're not interested in knowing your flaws, because they'll always see you as a perfect human being. They see you as infallible, as like a godlike creature. And so they don't really know you as a person. They just see you as like a hot piece of ass or something, or like that one pretty girl in your class that nobody talks to. Or that really attractive model or something. So with Tadano being the first person that befriends Komi-san, other people see this guy. First of all, they're very hostile towards him, which is what I really don't like about this story. Is like a lot of people have hidden agendas when they approach Kami, except this guy. Like he just became her friend, like a genuine friend. Everyone sees this guy and they're just like, "Hey, who do you think you are? Like you're just some ugly loser. You're just some ugly friendless loser. Who do you think you are talking to like the most popular girl in school?" So so a lot of people didn't like that, and so it was just kind of really, I'm gonna be honest, I kind of hated this, but like there were a lot of people that saw this guy, this average Joe, this like a normal ass dude, get close with this goddess of their school, right? And because of that, people are now thinking, oh, if he can talk to her, that means any one of us can talk to her. So let's all approach her, let's all be her friends, you know and so it was just kind of hard to watch sometimes, because I read the manga first and then I watched the anime. But it was kind of hard to watch, just all these characters that don't actually like Komi-san as a person, and they all just kind of want to get close to the celebrity, like they want to just get close to her for personal gain, because she's a pretty girl, because she's like, she's popular or whatever. But like while they're doing this, they're so mean to Tadano, like that normal ass guy, um, who was the reason they were able to become friends with Komi-san in the first place. It's not that they introduced them, but it was just like he opened a door, and now that everyone knows, like, oh, she's not as untouchable as we thought, so we can approach her now. And so like the fact that they have him to thank for being able to get close to their idol, but also hating on him constantly for being a loser, it was just really uncool. Yeah, like a lot of the characters are annoying, but luckily it got to a point where Komi-san was able to make more genuine friends, people that actually didn't care about her status as like the school goddess, they actually cared about Komi. They became friends with each other. I really like that. There was like this beach episode. I don't know if the anime had the beach episode, but in the manga there was like a beach episode, and the only people that were there were the people that cared about Komi as a normal friend, and not just like the people that were that were like cozying up to the school celebrity, um like like none of the leechers were there. So on that note, it's very common for girls to be takane no hanas. It's always just like, oh, there's just like the hottest girl at school, or like she's just like, oh, like this girl is so quiet, but she's so pretty, she's so elegant, she's from a rich background. There's a lot of characters that are like that in anime, but they're usually female. So it's not very common to have like a male character that's like that, because unless it's like a prince type of character where it's like that. I guess that's from shoujo anime. That's a very common trope, but it's not necessarily a Take no Hana. But it is just kind of like the most popular guy at school. It's like, oh, like he belongs to everybody. Like you can't have him. Like don't get so full of yourself. But like the thing that's interesting about that type of trope is that the thing with the Takanohanas is that they just want to be seen as a normal person. They want to be seen as themselves, their true selves. And so the love interest is usually the first person that doesn't treat them like everyone, like talk to them like an average human being. Because that's all they really want. They're above average, or they're seen as extraordinary people, but they only want to fit in. They want to make friends like everybody else. Those girls that complain about their pretty privilege, right? Sometimes where it's like, oh, like my looks are kind of a problem, because like the only people that want to talk to me are guys that want to date me, and the girls are too jealous or too afraid or want to stay away from me because I'm not as approachable as I'd like to be or something. And so while pretty privilege is a thing, it can also be like a hindrance to someone's social life, because people only ever approach you for very superficial self-serving reasons. But as I was saying, like that's very common with girls. But there are cases where there are male takenohanas, and that's why I'm going to talk about Handa from Handa-kun. So this guy is okay. So it's very funny, first of all, but like his whole thing is that he's a popular guy because he's a takenohana, but because of how insecure and self-conscious he is, he thinks everyone actually secretly hates him, and that's why they don't approach him. So he just wants friends, but thinks the whole school hates his guts because no one will talk to him. But the only reason no one will talk to him is because they have too much respect for him. They put him on a pedestal, and they don't ever want to approach him. They don't think that they're worthy of being his friend, and so he thinks he's a friendless loser because no one likes him. When actually the problem is that everyone likes him too much, that they don't feel like they're capable of making conversation, or that they're worthy of talking to him, which is a very interesting take on the concept of Takane no Hana. So it's like the thing with him, right, is like he has, because of his insecurities, he has like this misunderstanding in any situation, right, where it's like somebody will be like, hey, Handa-kun, like blah blah blah, we love you so much or whatever, and he'll just think like, oh, I think they're making fun of me. Why are they ganging up on me, if it's a guy, people just call him a loser. No, that's why it's so rare for this type of concept to be like the main focus of the anime. So with Handa-kun, it was kind of sad because again he was just a normal isolating himself. Everyone felt like you couldn't approach, but that was only because he felt guarded. He felt like everyone hated him, so he was on guard constantly. And and that's why nobody wanted to approach him because oh my god, my internet. But I don't know. It's just it's unfortunate that even popular people still struggle with being seen as like, as themselves. It's like, hey, oh no, because like, mm, because with unpopular people, their main struggle is how do I get people to approach me? I feel like I'm an interesting enough person, but I don't know how to get people to like me. Whereas these Takano no Hana characters, everyone likes them, but they're still not being seen as their true selves. People project their fantasies onto them. Like they're like, oh, this really pretty girl, she's so elegant, she's such a fancy lady, or this guy, he's so cool, he's so smart, he's so handsome, he's like a prince, but if you're not actually trying to get close to them in a genuine way, you're not trying to actually get to know them. It's like, what are you even doing, right? It's like oh, those people that that feel a type of way when approaching celebrities, right? Because like there's the people that want to date celebrities based off of their own fantasies, and that's why a lot of celebrities, they'll either date other celebrities or they'll date a person that isn't like a huge fan of theirs. Because if a celebrity dates like a parasocial fan, it's no better than the thing that happened with Komi-san, where it's like the only people that were really approaching her after a while was just kind of like they were just people that wanted to serve their own self-interests. It's like, oh, this is a really hot person, I want to be the person to date this hot person. I don't care what their personality is, I just want to be the one to date them. And I think a lot of people are like that, unfortunately, where it's like, oh, like I want to be the person in this very coveted position and make everyone jealous. I want to be this celebrity's girlfriend or this celebrity's boyfriend. I want to be this hot person's partner. I want to have them, it's basically like they're used as like an accessory to boost their own egos, to boost their own social status, because if you're a friendless loser, or if you're like some guy who isn't that popular, but you can get with the most popular girl at school, people look at you differently. They're like, he must have like he must be really interesting, he must be like really cool. And that's why a lot of guys, I mean girls do this too, but it's like it's very common with guys, where they kind of brag to their friends like, yeah, that's right, I got a hot girlfriend, are you guys jealous? It's like, why is that your main focus? Like, why aren't you just happy having your girlfriend? It's like, why are you trying to make other people, yeah, exactly, beware the sycophants. Yeah. I'll never be able to date my Oshi. No worry, you can be delusional in their chat. but but that's the thing though, it's like it's very interesting, even just being able to talk to someone that you admire, as I mentioned a couple streams ago, when I when I realized that like my type of dere, right? Because I took a test on Twitter, and it was like, what kind of dere are you? And I thought I would be sundere. No, I was something called mega dere, and it basically just means like you're like a hyper fan of the person that you like you're kind of obsessive in a way, not in a yandere way, but like in a just like you're fangirling over the person that you like. And I was just like, bro, they just called me a simp, what the heck? And then when I think about it, when I was in school, I did have a lot of crushes at some point. Like when I was going through puberty, I would, hormones going crazy. And even I would just like randomly decide, I have a crush on this person now. and then get over them, and then I'd be like, okay, this person, I also have a crush on them now, you know. Something that I realized was when I look back on me having those crushes, I was never interested in dating any of them. I just kind of like looking at them from afar, you know. I just be like, oh look, it's the eye candy. They're walking down the hall, you know. It's like, oh, that's so, it's so nice to see that person's face so early in the morning. You know, it's like, I wasn't trying to be their friend, I wasn't trying to be their girlfriend. I just wanted something nice to look at. And so in a way, I was kind of acting similarly to the people that look at those pakinahanas that way, you know. But at least I never got to a point where I was trying to be like some sort of like schmoozer, where it's like, oh, I'm gonna get close to this person just to make other people jealous. I'm gonna get close to this person just because I think they're really attractive. I don't care about them as a person. You know, I just wanna, I just, yeah, like I mean, there's a lot of people that date someone just because it's like, oh, that girl's just hot, so I'm gonna try to hook up with her. It's like, no, it's so shallow, you know. And that's why like these types of relationships aren't good. And that's why when making friends, the main thing that you need to consider is you need to actually care about other human beings. You know, if you want someone to care about you in a deep way, you have to do the same thing. You can't just be like, oh, I want you to ask me how my day was, and I want you to comfort me when I'm sad, but I don't have the time or the energy to ask you about your day. I don't care about your family problems. I'm not in a good headspace to ask about your social life, you know. Which is, again, as I mentioned, that's a one-sided friendship, which isn't good. Like you wanna make it fair. If you want someone to care about you, you have to care about someone else. That's kind of how that works. Funniest thing I remember seeing at work was two coworkers plotting how one of them would go. Oh my god. I was talking to my sister about Ronaldo yesterday. She was like, "What's Messi's first name?" And I said, "Well, I mean, I know that the other guy's name is Ronaldo. What if we just combine the two just to make one normal human?" Ronaldo, Messi. I know sports. You know, Bakura is really into soccer. If he heard me say that, he'll kill me. I mean, he already tried, you know. But that is that. Maybe I could. Maybe I'll DM him. He'll hate. He'll hate that. But yeah, it's like. Do you guys remember that time when it was like a meme with like the K drama people, where it was like they were saying stuff like, "Do you like Messi?" I think that was from Kim Bok-ju weightlifting fairy, and that was how she started talking to this guy because she didn't know how to make small talk, and she was like, okay, how do I approach my crush, you know? So she was like, do you like Messi? Maybe, hi Nano, hello, hi coworker, how was your day today? Toxic or manipulative friends are no good. Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's like having self-respect when you don't know how to socialize very well is very difficult because you kind of become a people pleaser when you're still in that state where you're struggling to make friends, right? You're like, okay, I need to talk to these people. I don't really know how to join the friend group, so I'll just go along with whatever they want to do. You know, I'll watch the movies that they want to watch. I'll play the video games they want to play. I'll pretend to like the music that they like. You know, so but like that's the thing. It's like that's like a short term solution. You're just kind of ensuring that this friendship is going to be as shallow as possible, you know, because you're only pretending to like certain things. You're not actually looking for people that you have something in common with. And here's something that I tell a lot of kids this. If you don't really have anything in common with someone, but you still want to talk to them, then talk about your different interests, learn from each other. You know how like there's people that only date people or befriend people from their communities, but there's also people that make friends from other countries or from other backgrounds, from other schools even, you know? So it's like what do you do when you're not even from the same country, right? Like the thing that you can do is you have to learn about each other. Even the differences, can mean a lot. Like I'll tell someone about the childhood snacks that I grew up with. They can tell me about the childhood snacks that they grew up with. We can talk about the different types of shows we like. We can, and then maybe we could watch a new show together, or or even recently, I mentioned this on Twitter. I made someone watch American Psycho. I've already seen the movie a bunch of times, but they were like, "Oh, I've never actually seen that," and so I was already like, "Oh, you want to watch it together?" So that's like a bonding activity. That's us spending time together, but it's not necessarily like you don't need to have the same taste in things to be able to hang out with someone. And so if you don't have anything in common, try to find common ground elsewhere. If you vibe well, you vibe well. It doesn't have to be because you like the same anime. Having the same interest is just like it's an icebreaker, if anything. You want to have a good bond with someone removed from the common interest. It's like, for example, let's say you date somebody because you both like Messi, right? You both like soccer. Are you gonna base your entire relationship off of soccer? No, right? You're gonna wanna have something in common with this person, even if it's like, life goals, um, or personal opinions about certain social issues, or how they view the world, or like their interest in dancing makes them attractive to you. So you want to learn how to dance just because they're interested in dancing. It's like I don't know. There's a lot of different ways to approach socialization, but a lot of the time just vibes is the most important thing, because if you don't vibe well with somebody, then you know how are you gonna talk? um, and that's why, like, even an extrovert adopting an introvert can't fully convert them to be the exact type of person if they're not similar, right? Like I had this friend group last year that was I really couldn't mesh well with them too much. There were times where I was like, oh, like I vibe well with these people. But at the end of the day, we just were too different. They were like um, the popular kids that only know how to drink and smoke weed. But I was the type of person that quietly read webtoons and watched anime all the time. So even if we got along sometimes, at the end of the day, we just were too different that it wasn't even just that we had different interests, we just didn't mesh well, as on a deep level. It's like just having a good conversation in a group setting is not the same as having an actual close knit bond with somebody. Like you want to actually have a deep connection with them. I accidentally napped till 11:30. Oh my god. I once had a buddy from the Netherlands when I was in like second grade who was a bit odd, but I liked him. See, that's the thing. It's like you still got along even if you had nothing in common, right? Sometimes you gotta settle for being acquaintances. That's the thing too. When it comes to toxic and manipulative people, you don't have to force yourself to be part of the friend group. You don't have to force yourself to be besties with them. Find other people. There's a lot of people that give up on socializing, mainly because they feel like, oh, I made a friend group and then we fought and then now that friend group is over, like that friend group is done. So it's how am I ever going to make friends again? That was my one shot at making friends. Like, no, there's so many people in the world. You're always going to meet new people the older you get, no matter how much you isolate yourself and only stay indoors. You're gonna socialize at some point, whether it's talking to someone on the phone, or meeting someone in a video game, or being in the same online space, or talking to a server at a restaurant. You're gonna have to socialize. Maybe someone will ask you out on a date. Maybe someone will invite you out to play D&D together. So it's like there's always chances to make new friends. If you have an argument with somebody, if you have to cut ties with people, if you have to leave a friend group, it's never too late. There's always a chance to kind of get an even better friend group in the future, because it's like there's a reason why a lot of adults only have a few friends, because your standards for friendship are a lot higher. Because I feel like when you're a kid, like the most that happens is like, hey, we like the same type of apple juice, we're best friends now. you know People don't really work that way when you're an adult, which is ironic considering all the stuff that I just said until now. But you need to have something more to consider each other friends. The older you get, right? So it's like when you're not meeting as many people, but your standards are getting higher and higher, of course you're gonna lose friends along the way. You're gonna end up being like a 65-year-old with a wife and kids, but you only have like two friends, and they both have families of their own, so it's even harder to make plans together. So it's like, your social circle is going to get smaller and smaller the older you get. When you're a kid, you're still learning how to socialize. When you're in your late teens to early 20s, that's when you meet the most people, I think. Whether it's work or school, you're going to meet the most number of people. You're going to go through a lot of people, and you're just going to have to accept that a lot of the friends that you make during those times, they're not going to stay. And that's okay. Like, you're discovering yourself, you're becoming an adult, you're learning how to manage the real world. Hello, detective. Hi, hello, hi, Ozzy. But yeah, it's like, and then when you leave college, life gets busier. You're now working, you can't go to class together, you don't have time to party anymore, you have a job, you have bills to pay. So it's like the socialization that you probably had back in college is not going to be the same when you start working. It's not going to be the same when you have a family, and yeah, it's just like you're going to be too tired to go out constantly as well. So if you were like a party animal in college, you're not going to be partying the same way when you're in your 30s. You're not going to be partying the same way when you're in your 40s and have a family, you know. So it's like your social circle is going to get smaller and smaller, but hopefully by the time you're an elderly person, your friends that are still with you, they're gonna be like lifelong friends that you're all just gonna grow up and grow old together. You're just gonna be like, just like these 80-year-old guys that are still hanging out. And I think that's pretty cool. So if you, I mean, I talked about this on Twitter and also yesterday, but it's like I did have to cut ties with some people this week, um and it was difficult, but I kind of just have to keep it going. I just have to keep it pushing, right? I'm just like, hey, I mean, it's sad that I lost those friends, but it doesn't mean that I suddenly have no friends at all. It doesn't mean that I can't make new friends. It's just like, those connections needed to end. And even though it's sad, it's not the end of the world. And so if you fuck up a friend group, if you mess up asking someone out or whatever, or talking to a friend, if you lose a friend, it's not the end of the world. You can always try again later. Because that's the thing, it's like, just like how you're not just stuck with one chance at romance, you're also not stuck with one chance at friendship. So if you mess up in a friend group and you now no longer are part of that friend group, go find another one. Go make new friends. So yeah, and then hopefully you find the people that you fit in with the most. Because like, just, I mean, I mentioned this too. Uh the thing that I like about Nexus, as weird as it is, right, is like I've finally met people that I actually, um I feel like I fit in with Nexus people more than I've ever fit in like with my IRL friend groups or my older online friend groups. Because with those friend groups, I was still kind of very much a people pleaser. And so I didn't know myself enough to kind of be my own person and stand on my own feet. I was just kind of going along with everybody and not really socializing to the best of my abilities. But now I'm actually making deeper connections. I'm now, you know, making friends in a better, more substantial way. And it's like it's really nice. I Even though there's like differences here and there, it's still good to just feel like I belong somewhere. So I hope that everybody finds that social circle at some point, or if you're already in it, good for you. I hope you still remain friends with them for a long time. But anyways, that's probably like the end of it. I think that's all I really have to say about the topic. But I'm gonna have to go. Something came up. But thank you guys so much for listening to me ramble. Like, this would have been, I probably would structure this as a video, but it's kind of fun just rambling about it too, and just talking about my own personal takes on things, and my own personal experiences. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope to see you guys on my stream tomorrow. We're doing a special stream. It's gonna be kind of lewd. It's gonna be kind of cringe. Please stop by. It's gonna be a goofy stream. It's not gonna be like a serious stream at all. um, but yeah, see you guys tomorrow. Until then, take care. Have a good night, everybody. Bye bye, and thank you, Misty, for restreaming. Bye bye.